Hey, welcome back to Max Dave Horsemanship again. And today I'm going to talk about, well, it's actually something I've done a video on once before, but it was several years ago, so I thought I'd do it again. But, well, that video actually has about 40,000 views, so obviously it's somewhat popular, I guess. But that also goes to show what happens if YouTube decides to promote one of your videos. As most of you will know, most of my videos don't even have 100. Some are hundreds, some are thousands. But yeah, that one in particular, exceptionally high. But it's all about how to pet a horse. And although a lot of people think that, well, come on, that can't be that complicated of a thing. But it actually is. And I'm going to include a few things in this video that are things that, well, I didn't include in the last one. And I think they're rather important topics too, some serious don'ts, etiquette kind of thing. You know, one of the things that I didn't talk about in my previous video, which I had totally different equipment, so I'm hoping the video and the audio is going to be way better on this one. So those birds that ever shut up? Actually, I don't even notice them when I'm in here. It's not until I go to edit the video later. All of a sudden I hear all these birds screaming and yelling in the background, and it's like, holy crap, those things are noisy. When I'm in here, I don't even notice them because I'm so used to them being here that, well, yeah, anyhow. So we're going to start with something that should have come right at the beginning before you even, well, try to approach the horse or anything like that and pet it. There's something that is a very common thing lots of people do, and in all honesty, I'm still guilty of it even today. Well, at least the temptation is there, but I know better, and in most cases I won't do it, is do not try and touch a horse over a fence. And there's a reason for this, a good reason for this, and it doesn't matter whether it's somebody else's horse or your own. If it's somebody else's horse, it's even more important because touching a horse over a fence or trying to pet it over a fence can really lead to the horse learning bad lessons, which you never ever want to have happen. And what it is basically if you're reaching over the fence and the horse decides, I don't want you touching me, it can move away and you have a fence in front of you. There's nothing you can do. And that basically puts the horse in control. And that can affect all kinds of things. It can make the horse hard to catch, hard to halter, hard to lead, hard to approach, hard to, well, it just basically has it all figured out at that point that it can control the situation, which is not what you want. So, you know, and especially for someone else, you don't want to be creating problems for other people with their horse. So if it's somebody else's horse, the temptation is always there to reach over that fence and touch the horse, but whatever you do, don't do it. Now, even if it's your own horse, you really don't want to be doing it for, well, I just explained. You have a barrier there that stops you from following through with what you want to do. It puts the horse in control, and, well, bad things happen. When you first introduce yourself to the horse, you can hold your hand out, and before the horse turns its head away like she just did, you pull your hand away. Now, I wasn't actually presenting my hand to her, so it didn't really matter that that happened, but that's exactly what you do not want to happen. So, horses are inherently curious animals, and if you hold your hand out, they're going to want to check you out. So, she's going to check out my hand before she can pull her head away. I'm taking my hand away. That's one of the very important things in introducing yourself to a horse. But I'm going to take it a little further than that. And for that, I'm going to have to back up a little more yet, get a little further away from the camera so you can see what we're doing a little bit better yet, I think. We'll see what I can do. I'm going to try and help you out here. Let's start with approaching the horse. Now, today this video is a little different than the last one because last one I didn't even have a halter on the horse, but there's two big doors open at the other end of the arena. We don't want her going out there. And, well, this way I can actually keep her in front of the camera so you can see what I'm doing here. Now, when it comes to approaching the horse, that's where it starts. Is if you want to approach a horse to pet it, the first thing you want to do is you want to approach it properly so it doesn't just take off on you. And from the shoulder, you're going to come towards the shoulder, and you're going to come in a triangle somewhere in there. It's not exact, If you go too far back, the horse is just going to take off forward. You go too far forward, the horse might turn and take off the other way, or it might even charge you if it thinks you're coming a little too head on. You get confrontational. Well, at least that's how they see it anyhow. So you want to approach basically the shoulder at about a 45-degree triangle is what you want. You want to be somewhere in that area there. And you want to come up nice and quiet and slow. This is the beginning. It's how you approach the horse. Now, if the horse does start moving off, well, okay, now we're getting into catching territory, which is not really what we're trying to do in this video. But, well, let's say the horse does walk off on you, because that could happen. If it does, well, if it goes forward, don't try getting any closer to the horse. You know, and that's instinct for a lot of people. When the horse moves away, they want to go after it. Well, that can actually just make the horse move a whole lot faster, because all of a sudden you're driving it, you're pushing it ahead. And, well, no, you don't do that. Keep your distance, and you may still be, at this time, 50 feet away or more, I don't know, quite a ways away. And what you do is, don't try and get any closer. But you don't have to stop moving. In fact, it's best if you don't, because then the horse learns that it doesn't have control over you. It can't make you stop moving. So if the horse is moving ahead, just go with it. If it turns and walks away or whatever it does, just go with it, but maintain about the same distance. Don't stop moving, but don't try getting any closer. Just maintain the distance. Once you get up to the horse and you get fairly close to the horse, like I said, you want to be approaching the shoulder area. This area right in here is what I refer to as, and I use the same term in the other video, I call this the safe area. This is the area that the horse is going to have the least amount of objection to you touching them. Any place else on the horse, you could run into a problem depending on the horse. Now, it's going to vary from horse to horse and your relationship with the horse, whether it's totally strange, first time it's ever met you, or if it's a horse you've had for quite a while. So, stick to the safe zone though, the shoulder. But when you're approaching the horse, don't go directly at it. Kind of just slowly, don't make eye contact, just gradually work your way a little closer to the horse. Yes, dear. And till you're beside the shoulder. And I say beside. You don't want that shoulder in front of you, because this is one of the keys, is in approaching a horse to put the least amount of pressure on it. You want to be 90 degrees to that shoulder. You don't want to be facing the shoulder. Well, having the back to it's probably not smart, because then you can't see what's coming. So you want to be, you don't have to be facing the same direction as the horse, but you don't want to be facing directly to the shoulder. You can be facing forward, or you could be facing backwards. Either one will work, but you don't want to be facing directly to the horse. Now, this horse is a little different, because she's been with me for quite a while. So I can get away with a lot of things with her that you cannot get away with a lot of horses, particularly if it doesn't know you very well. So that's your first thing. And one of the things I talked about in that video, I'm going to mention yet again, is you don't pet horses, you rub them. And it's really interesting is there's a guy that I've been watching quite a few of his videos lately, and he frequently tells people, it's in another country where the rubbing thing is actually, well, not really well understood or anything, and most people pet their horses with a very firm slap, which always makes me cringe when I see people do it. But every one of his clients, he tells them the same thing. It's like, rub, don't pet. If you insist on petting, do it gently. Just put the heel of your hand down on them and just pet them with your fingers. Now, this horse in particular has taught me a little bit about that stuff too, because when I first got her, she's been with me quite a few years, but she hasn't, actually I have another horse that has been with me longer, because I didn't have her for a number of years. She was away. She wasn't with me for a number of years, but when I first got her, it was quite a few years ago. And she's a little older than she looks. And I didn't know anything about this stuff myself, and I wish I'd seen a video like this back then, because I used to slap her. Good girl, pat her on the shoulder like that. Well, every time my hand came down on her, she'd jump 10 feet sideways. I thought, man, she's a spooky horse. Well, she was a little bit of a high-strung, nervous, worried horse. But that really wasn't the problem. The problem was me. I was doing it wrong. I didn't know I was doing it wrong. I didn't know any different. And well, fortunately, she eventually did get used to that stuff, so I can actually do that to her. And she doesn't take offense to it, but that's not the right thing to do. And I still try to make a habit of not doing that, simply because of the fact that a lot of horses, most of the horses I interact with, they don't understand that stuff. And I'm going to explain to you the difference between rubbing a horse and petting a horse. If you think about what the horse experiences in its life naturally, there's no hitting. There's none of this slapping stuff. And so I always cringe when I see people doing it. And some of them like jumpers and stuff after, oh, good horsey, and they're slapping the thing on the neck so loud you can hear them across the arena. And I'm like, why are you hitting your horse? I thought you liked your horse. Well, and even as humans, that would be something that naturally we would take offense to, because we have been taught from a very young age that a pat on the back or that type of thing is good. It's a positive thing. So it's a learned thing. It's not something that's instinctual. And the same is true for horses, maybe even more so, because their instincts are very strong. When they're born, the first thing they feel is mama licking them clean. That's more of a rubbing action. There's no hitting involved. The only time that they experience anything similar to a pet is a kick from another horse, which is either, well, not either. It's some kind of disciplinary action usually. And that's what they know. That's what they understand. So slapping your horse, petting it, to them, that's offensive. That's like getting kicked. Why would you want to do that? I want them to think more like, mama licking them clean. That kind of very good, positive emotion. Or sometimes there'll be mutual grooming up on the withers or scratching one another. That's a rubbing motion, not a petting. Very gentle. And, so there's a definite difference between petting and rubbing. And when you want to pet a horse, you don't pet it, you rub it. Rubbing is how you do it. And now I'm going to expand a little. Where? Safe zone is the area on the shoulder that the horse would find the least intrusive. That's the safest thing. And if you don't know the horse doesn't know you, that's definitely where you're going to start. And that's the most approachable area. And you don't even necessarily, the first time you touch the horse, you don't even necessarily rub it. You can just rest your hand on it. And then before the horse moves, you take your hand away. You can put your hand on it again, keep repeating it, and then gradually just rub a little. And then you can gradually work your way up. Give it a scratch on the withers. Most horses actually like that. In that area, it's still pretty safe too. They don't mind that. And, well, eventually, a lot of people want to get to the face. They want to play with the face. Well, what you have to understand about that is that is an area of the body that they're very cautious and protective of, because all of their senses are there. Their ears, their eyes, their nose, their mouth, all their senses are up there. And it's also a very delicate part of the horse. Like, it's not a very tough part, unless they move their head fast and you get hit by it. And it can seem pretty tough, but it's actually not. It's actually pretty delicate. And so they're usually quite cautious and wary, especially if they don't know you. And, well, to put it in human terms, is if somebody was to walk up to you that was a complete stranger and start messing with your face, you're not going to like that one little bit. If it was somebody that you had a fairly intimate relationship with, you might not mind. Well, same true with the horse. If you have a fairly intimate relationship with a horse already, you can probably get away with this stuff. But if you don't, no, the horse is probably going to be offended by it. So leave the face alone. Over time, if it's a horse that, for example, you start off with and you build a relationship with, over time you can start off in this safe zone and gradually work your way up very slowly, day by day, week by week, whatever it takes. You go slow, and if the horse gives you any indication that it isn't cool with it, don't go any further. Wait until another day, or even another couple days. And gradually, you can work your way up to the head. But you definitely do not start there. Now, like I said, I've had this horse for quite a few years. And, see, I can get away with playing with her face. She don't mind. Yes, dear. No, you're not getting one. Okay, you definitely wouldn't do that with a horse you don't know, okay? Don't use that as an example. Like I said, I've had this one for a while. You know, she's not your typical, I'm just using her as a model to demonstrate on, okay? So, you know, that is by and large, pretty much all of it is, you know, first off, never ever try and do it over a fence. That's an absolute no-no. Even if it's your own horse, don't touch the horse over a fence. And especially somebody else's horse. And yeah, I know you can't help it. You see a face like that and you just go, I've got to touch it. I just got to. But you don't want to be doing that. Excuse me, dear, where do you think you're going? I didn't say she could go anywhere, did I? Do a little recap here. First off, over the fence, absolute no-no. As tempting as it is, and I know it is, because you see a face like this and you just want to reach over the fence and, hey, sweetheart. And I still do it every once in a while, only with certain horses. I'm very cautious about which ones I do it with, and depends on where the horse is at and how well it knows me, that sort of thing. I'm very cautious about that stuff. The other thing is, you know, if it's somebody else's horse, definitely no. Definitely not. Just leave it all. Best off, if you don't know how to do it right, just eliminate that scenario altogether. It's like I've said many times before, it is so much easier to prevent problems than to fix them. And that would just be one of those many cases where you can prevent the problem in the first place, but just don't do it. Just don't go near that. Don't lean over a fence to touch a horse, okay? Forget about it. Don't do it. Next one is approaching the horse. Like I said, from the shoulder area, that's the area you're going to approach, is the shoulder. And from that area, you know, about a 45-degree wide triangle, approximately. Like I said, that's approximate. And move in slowly, and don't go directly at the horse. Just, you know, kind of side by side, like la-di-da around the pasture from quite a distance away, like, yeah, whatever, you know. This is cool, nice day, isn't it? Yeah, huh? And gradually get closer and closer. Next thing you know, hey, there's a horse beside me. How about that? And I'm just going to touch the horse on the shoulder and take my hand away. That's all I'm going to do. First time. You know, if the horse doesn't get too worried about it, I'm not sure what her deal is today. She keeps walking off on me. Back up, dear. Thank you. That's a good girl. You know, if the horse doesn't walk off, you can proceed a little further. But when the horse obviously will give you signs of, no, I'm not comfortable with that, don't go any further. In fact, maybe back up a tiny bit till it's comfortable again. And then you can go back to, well, like I said before, you know, work your way up the withers, up the neck, and gradually, eventually you can get to the head and the face. And, well, every horse is a little bit different with that stuff too. Some horses actually just really like it. Some you can go underneath, but you can't go on top. Some you can go on top but not underneath. Some you can't touch the pole. Some, they're all different. They're just like people, you know. They're all different. This one here, I can do just about anything I want with her until she's had enough. When she's had enough, she'll turn her head away from me and say, no, that's it, I've had it. Don't mess with my face no more. They're all different. I have another one that I can stick her face up against me and she'll stand there all day while I rub on her nose. She don't care. This one, though, like I said, you know, she's got an opinion. And she'll say, hey, I've had enough, I've had enough. Even right now, she's not being overly affectionate. That's just the way she is. Doesn't mean she don't like me. I know she likes me. Like I said, you approach it and then work up gradually. And it may take you days, weeks, months, maybe even years before you can grab the face anytime you want and mess with it all over the place. And in her case, it's a good thing that we've actually, you know, gotten really good with the face, because it also makes it easier when you got to give your horse meds and stuff like that. And in her case, I have to give her meds every freaking day. And so I have to be able to get a hold of her face and put an oral syringe into her mouth. And if she wasn't cool with me handling her face, that would be a problem. And which is one of the reasons that, you want to be able to do this stuff. And like I've said in the other video, a lot of people will say, yeah, play with the face, get the horse used to it. I say that is not something you should be trying to achieve. Well, in a way, I'll explain this, is I think the ability to touch the horse's face in most cases, like I said, it'll vary a little depending on the horse, but if the horse will actually let you touch its face and handle its face and do all you want with its face, that's more of an indication of where you're at with the relationship with the horse. It doesn't help build the relationship, and it's not something that you should be trying to do for the betterment of the horse. It's more of an indication of how good things are going with your horse. So there you go. How to pet a horse. Better video and audio on this one compared to that last one I did. That was years ago. Time for a new one. Have a good day.